If your ex is dismissive avoidant and you want to win them back, watch this video because I'm going to explain the process, the steps that you have to go through in order for you to maximize your chances of getting back together. Jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
So first of all, before taking any actions, because thinking about any moves, any sort of things that you could send, any things that you could do, understand their mindset first. So this slide is just to explain the mindset of a dismissive avoidant. First of all, they all have a deep fear of intimacy and vulnerability. And when I say they, I should say we, because I used to be dismissive avoidant. And so for many years, vulnerability for me was a sign of weakness. We want to be strong. We don't want to show our insecurities, our fears. We want to be perfect. We want to be strong. We don't want to show our, not a dark side, but the things that are not necessarily, things that we're not necessarily proud of. The problem is this is how you build intimacy. When people get to know you, get to know the real person. So what happens is after a breakup, there's usually an initial relief. When this relationship was meaningful, when they were in love with you, that would also be followed by longing. So the relief is from, okay, I don't have the pressure from this relationship anymore. I don't have to tell you where I'm doing, what I'm doing. I can do whatever I want. So they'll be released from this kind of pressure, but at some stage, they'll feel the loss. They reflect and start to miss you. Maybe not the relationship, but they'll miss you. The problem is, dismissive avoidant, they dismiss things. They have a very hard time when it comes to expressing their emotions. First of all, because they don't know what an emotion is. Again, for many years, for me, my emotions was like happy, sad. What else do you need? And so for them, they have an experience. They will dismiss negative emotions. They will dismiss things that they don't want to process and feel like, okay, well, I have a hard time. I can't focus at work. I can't sleep at night. But, there must be something wrong. I must take some vitamin or stuff like that. When in reality, they don't know that they have unresolved emotions that they have to process. And it's a sign that they're just basically missing out on the relationship. Before I move on to the next slide, I just want to tell you that I put together a quiz to let you know more about anxious avoidant dynamic, making sure that if you're trying to get back with a dismissive avoidant, you're trying to get back with a relationship that has potential. Because sometimes you date dismissive avoidant who will never change. And basically you're going to be suffering again, even if you get back together. Or you're trying to recover a relationship where maybe your partner is dismissive avoidant, but more importantly, maybe they're just simply not into you anymore and they've lost feelings. And this is a sign that it's, in those situations, it's very, 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 very hard to get back together. I never help people in that case because I know I can't. That doesn't mean that you will never get back together. But for me, as a therapist, as a coach, I know that's the limit. I can't force people to fall back in love. I wish I could, but I can't do it. My job is to help people to learn more about their attachment style, to work at being more secure, and navigating the communication in order to create that safe space. So your ex perceives the relationship on different terms. He doesn't feel the pressure anymore. He or she doesn't feel that the relationship has to take so much space, that they have to choose between work and relationship. All these things. It's something you can address and change. And if you can address and change it, then yes, there's a potential for you to get back together. So step one, give them space. The reason they broke up with you is potentially because the relationship was taking too much space. The relationship was putting too much pressure on them. And so the worst thing you could do is to sort of smother them and not giving them that space. Because you're going to increase that perception of the relationship is too difficult. Even when we break up, you're on my back. You don't let me have my freedom, my space. So this is important. I know it's hard to let go because there's like you have those voices in your head telling you like, yes, but if I don't talk to them, if I sort of disappear, I hear this word, disappear from their life, they're going to forget me. No, they will forget you if you didn't mean anything to them. And perhaps that's the case. And if that's the case, then don't try to get them back. Okay. What you have to do is to, again, what we are doing here is to create the right conditions for them to process the breakup, regret breaking up with you, and feel confident that there's a future with you. So giving them that space will allow them to process their feelings. Step number 2, focus on self-improvement. Perhaps when you clicked on that videos, you're like, okay, I need tips on what should I do with my ex, what should I send, what you have to understand is the only thing you can focus, you can control right now is your actions and how you treat yourself. So rather than thinking, okay, what should I do in 1 month if he or she sends me, no. What can you do tomorrow to feel healthier, to feel more confident, to feel happier, more fulfilled? And so there's plenty of things you could be doing. Being single, yes, it's tough. Yes, it's very something you didn't choose, but now you have more time for yourself. So find things that you could be doing that helps you to, it's not about distracting yourself from the breakup. You're watching this video because you want to learn and you want to progress, but there's also an element of like, you don't want to be also being on your own, only watching videos about breakups, right? You have to do both. The reason it's also important in the context of your ex, it also shows them that you can have a life, that you don't always depend on them. And that will send a strong message. So the strongest messages are usually not the ones that you send directly to your ex. It's usually the things that they understand about you or the relationship. It's way easier to convince someone when they make the decision, when they analyze something and they come up with that conclusion themselves. I.e., rather than telling them by, sending them a letter or an email telling them, I'm working on myself, I understand I'm anxious, I will give you more space, etc., etc. Just do it. Do it, and they will figure out, hold on, things are different. It doesn't have to be the way it was when we were together. So that's super important. Step number 2 is around the reconnection and the subtle reconnection. So I'm in favor when it's okay, when depending on the context, to break the contact at some stage. The reason I think it's okay to nudge them is because in some cases, avoidance, they are so scared of hurting you. They are so sort of, because they don't know, they're not sure, they rather say no than yes. You want to nudge them just to, again, creating that safe space. What you have to do is when you are in touch with them is to use neutral topics, avoid emotional pressure. And so that's why it's important to work on yourself, because if you're on the edge and you reach out to them or you see them and you become emotional right away, you want to protest, you want to confront them right away, that's not going to work out. So it's important to, maybe for a month or 2, work on yourself, find ways to develop a secure attachment style. So with a therapist, on yourself, etc. Buy the book Attached, read it, learn it by heart, and do the work. Because when you will get in touch with them, it's important for them to also see changes. It's not about saying that you've changed, but it's also see changes about how you around emotional regulation, around accepting them to have a bit of space, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about reconnection, the problem, and I'm going to manage your expectations, is that you will always get disappointed by their reaction. Because perhaps you are very positive and you want them back. You have a high certainty that it could work out, but they don't. And so you'll always have this impression that they have to catch up with you and bring them or raise their level of certainty. When you reconnect with an avoidant, usually they'll be like 20% sure they want to get back together. They know they missed the relationship, but in a way it's a bit scary. Maybe you're at 150%, should get back together. The point is to bring them slowly. And so you have to be patient, you have to be consistent. If you want to show them that you can regulate your emotion, that you can be at peace, that you have your own life, doing it 1 week or 2 weeks, that's not enough. You have to do it for the rest of your life. And that's why I help all of my clients are developing a secure attachment style, because regardless of the outcome, regardless whether they're going to get back with their ex or not, this will be helpful for them to be in healthier relationship, to have the confidence to establish healthier boundaries, and also to pick the right partners. So it's very important to use that time and be consistent. If you don't develop a secure attachment style during the process, it's going to be very hard for you to be patient and consistent. Step number 4 is to encourage open communication. So the point here is to be kind of a role model. You're the secure person, you're the mature person. It's about showing them, okay, let's try to figure out, let's try to reset, press on the reset button and discuss about things. It's not necessarily about addressing what went wrong, but it's about, okay, how can I understand your experience? How can you understand my experience, my fears? If you create the safe space, and if you have the right dynamic, they will open up. The active listening, empathy, is something that we do in our group coaching program. Have a look in the description. There's a free trial to join our community. We do group coaching calls once or twice a week, depending on when you join. The point is to bring people together and practice on those things. Practice on active listening, understanding about, and also learning about things around empathy, nonviolent communication, boundaries, and so on and so forth. So the point here is to, again, it's not about judging, it's not about confronting, it's about like, okay, we're adults. I'm interested in psychology. This is what I understood about myself. This is what I understood about my triggers. When you start having discussions about that with someone you care, someone who cares about you, someone who's intelligent, they'll also start thinking like, oh, that's interesting. What about me? What can I learn about that? How can I apply it in myself, in my sort of relationships, in my life? And when you start having those conversations, you're not anymore, when it comes to conflict, for example, you have different layers of conflict. People don't argue because the fridge was empty or you didn't unload the dishwasher. It's because there are all other layers. And I think what's very interesting is when you are trying to get back with a dismissive avoidant, you have to peel the onion and show them that, hold on, the reason you left me, it's not because I make noise when I eat salad, or because sometimes they make up like very, very weird, or because of the way I dress. It's because of that fear of commitment. So obviously, you should not be the one telling them you're dismissive avoidant. They have to go on that journey and figure this themselves. But it's about like having those conversations at a deeper level and showing them being a role model in that context. Step number 5 is to be understanding and patient, which is very hard, especially if you're the dumpy. It's very hard when you feel like, okay, they rejected me and now I'm the one who needs to be patient. Now I'm the one to understand them, to find excuses. The point is not to find excuses. The point is to say, okay, they have insecurities. I'm doing my best. I'm showing them an alternative, right? It's just a question of them confronting themselves with this new reality. And soon enough, they realize what they've lost. So it's about finding the right distance between being supportive but not pushy. Right? Respecting their pace. The point here is not to fall into the trap of being with someone who's manipulative or where it's easy for them to keep you on the hook in case they change their mind. The point here, and also that's what we do in my one-to-one coaching, is we need to assess the progress. If you're in a never-ending loop of mixed messages back and forth, at some stage you have to say, okay, I cut it off. That's not going to work out. That's not healthy for me. I'm suffering from this, and that's not good for me. If, however, you see that your partner is progressing, for example, he or she's seeing a therapist, they are admitting some of their wrongdoing in the relationship, taking accountability for things. They want to make improvements. That's a strong sign. Obviously, maybe for them it's harder. Maybe for them it's been like 30, 40, 50, 60 years of things that they haven't really processed, that they haven't really worked on. And so it's going to take a bit of time for them to, okay, hold on. So that's why I'm scared of intimacy. That's why I'm so scared of being vulnerable. That's why I always value being self-reliant and independent. Okay, and I have to let go of this. So it takes a bit of effort to let go of those things. And maybe you also, in a way, if you're an anxious attached person, you're also experiencing this difficulty of letting go of those old patterns, of those belief systems. In attachment theory, we call it working models. So it's important to understand those working models and reframe those working models. Step number 6 is obviously about intimacy. It's about how you slowly, the word slowly is very important, increase emotional and physical closeness. The easiest way to do it is to follow their pace. This way you're sure that you're not going to pressure them or you're not going to speed the process. And when you make progress, it's about celebrating those small steps. For yourself, and that's again where I spent a lot of my time with my WhatsApp client, is that maybe every week we say, okay, maybe you feel a bit frustrated about what we've achieved this week, but look back 1 month ago where we were. Look back at the text you had with your ex a month ago. He or she didn't want to reply. Now you're seeing each other. Maybe you're not seeing each other long enough. Maybe you don't do a lot of things, but there's progress. And also celebrating with them. So sending them, again, it's not being pushy or romantic or emotional, just like, I've had a great time with you, right? Just showing them, or thank you for opening up to me. That means a lot. You're not saying thing like, I want to get back with you, I miss you. It's just like, okay, you've done something great and I reward you for that. Again, consistency, caring action. Final word is, it's important for you to assess whether they're making any changes. You're working on yourself. You're watching this video. That's amazing. You should first of all congratulate yourself for that, because you've chosen a path where, okay, this breakup was difficult, but I want to learn from it. I want to improve. It's not just like, okay, I broke up with my partner, or they dumped me, they broke up with me, and I'm going to move on and I'm going to just like, okay, next. No, at least you're reflecting and figuring out what you need to do to improve. Because in a way, trying to save this relationship is potentially the right move for you. You're not the kind of person who say like, okay, it's not working out, I'm going to give up. At least you're trying to make it work. At least you're fighting. Now, what you have to assess is whether you're the only one fighting or not. If you're the only one trying to push a narrative, if you're the only one trying to rekindle something and the other one is not, then that becomes a one-sided relationship. And that's the worst scenario for you. So you don't know what the future holds. You don't know whether it's going to be successful or not. What you can be guaranteed of is whether you have the ability to develop a secure attachment style, to be more confident, to have healthier boundaries. That's what you have to implement now. And then assessing whether they are making changes, whether this is enough for them to finally let go of their insecure working models. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. If you like the video, click on like, that does help me a lot. And you can also subscribe to watch more of my videos. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.